Hi guys, I'm Chantel, and today I have a decently large book unhaul to share with you. I think I have a stack of like a dozen-ish books, plus about 10-ish books from a series, so there's a few books here. First of all, I'm wearing my favorite bookish shirt that I made. This is I Closed My Book to Be Here. I feel like really this applies to any situation. If you see me wearing the shirt and I'm not holding a book, I obviously closed my book to be there. I closed my book to do this video. Honestly, this was kind of an inner struggle today. Like, do I film the video? Do I read? It's pretty much a struggle every time. But I decided to film it and then read afterwards. So I've been thinking a lot about like what makes a book good enough to stay on my shelves. And I think if it's a book I think I'm going to reread or I think I will borrow to friends, it's worth keeping. I think I have a few exceptions to this. There's like some classics that I kind of just want to be like, hey, I read these and don't I look so smart? I'm gonna keep some of those. But like for the most part, those are my two main criteria. And I generally try to only have books on my shelves that I've either read the book or at least read the first book of the series. So that when people come over and they look at my shelves, they're like, oh, you've read this book, you enjoyed it or what? I'm like, no, I haven't read that book. I try to avoid those conversations as much as possible so we can talk about books that I've enjoyed and actually read. So let's get into this. The first thing I'm going to show you is this stack that is a series. I read none of these books. This is all on Jared. I didn't even like really ever think that I would read this, but apparently he's done with these. This is a decent amount of the Wheel of Time books. We have the prequel and then I think numbers 1 through 8. He got them from a thrift store a few years ago and started reading them maybe like last year or something. Has slowly been like working his way through them. And to me, they don't sound that interesting at all. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of like flipping back and forth between the characters. I don't know. Everything that I've heard about this series just sounds like it's not for me. Jared has obviously enjoyed it enough that I think he's on book 10 now. And I know he wants to get to like the ones that Sanderson helped write. But he doesn't see the need to keep them and I know I'm never gonna read them. So these ones are gonna go. So then hopefully someone out there that is interested in starting this series will find this at the thrift store and can enjoy it. Okay, so some of these I've struggled with a bit, trying to decide if I want to get rid of them, but I'm pretty sure I want to get rid of this one, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I read this one a month or two ago, back in September, I think I read it. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I don't know if it was because it was hyped that I felt disappointed in it or what, but I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I'm currently reading book 2, and actually I'm a little over halfway down book 2, and I'm enjoying that one more, but I don't think I want to buy it. I'm just reading it from the library, so I think I struggle with like owning part of a series. What's the point in that? So I think this one's gonna go. Then one that I read earlier this year is Olivia Twist. This is like a retake on Oliver Twist. If Oliver Twist was a girl, and then this is kind of like when she's about 20-ish. It was actually decently interesting, but I don't know, I just don't think I would reread it. It wasn't spectacular. It was quite predictable. So yeah, maybe I'll give this one to a friend or something. I don't know if Holly's read it. Maybe I'll see if she wants it. Otherwise, I am procrastinating painting my little free library, which Jared did finish making for me. It just really needs to be painted, and I'm just dragging my feet because I hate painting things. So maybe this will go in there, you know, when I eventually paint it. This next one is one that I read for a book club at my library last year or the year before, and it's the Book of Negroes, which has a different name in the States, I believe. This is written by a Canadian author. He's half white, half black, and this is a story of African slaves and their transport to the States, and this is a like historical fiction story, and I'm sure it's very accurate. It's very violent and gruesome, totally understandable, like real life. But I just don't see myself ever rereading this. I don't think I would have finished it if it wasn't for a book club. But I do think it was well written, but not really one I want to continue having on my shelves. I found this at a thrift store a few years ago. It'll go back and someone else will enjoy it. This one I recently DNF'd, and that is Illuminate. I was spoiled for this book, so I knew what was coming and I wasn't enjoying the process of getting there, so I just didn't see the point in continuing. Plus, this does have like, generally swear words are redacted because this is mixed media. Let's see if I can find a page. So like all the blacked out stuff are like swear words, except then they don't block off like using the Lord's name in vain, which kind of seemed like isn't that being used as a swear? Yeah, anyway. And there was just too much like teenage drama of like, oh, you know, like your mama's so like whatever, teenage boys. I don't need to be reading that. I'm in my 30s. Not interesting to me. And then I've got 2 books in a series that I got from the library. This is, what is it called? The Lightbringer series. So we got The Black Prism and The Blinding Knife. Jared decided to start this the other month, and I don't know exactly what he read, but then I did mention this in a video, and a subscriber said that the series is crudely sexual, was the exact quote used, and this person liked the series. So I'm like, well, that's not something that I want to read, so just I'm gonna DNF this series, and then I'll get rid of books 1 and 2. And then I do have his first book in, the book I think is called The Way of Shadows, the Night Angel series, is that what it's called? And I heard that one is better that way as far as the writing goes, but I would love to hear your comments if you've read that one before. Then I've got Forbidden. This is a Decker book with Tosca Lee. Now, I have some books to haul eventually, and I did buy more Tosca Lee books. I'm curious to read her writing apart from Decker. But I think I'm done with his writing. This book was, it was like in a world where they removed every passion and feeling from people except fear. Is that what it was? I don't even remember now. But it was just like weird and twisted, and like I don't mind fantasy, but this just felt, it just felt weird. And I just feel like, I don't know, I haven't read a ton of Decker in the last 10-15 years, but the ones that I do remember, like the Circle series, like all those colors, green, black, red, whatever, I just remember being very confused in those books, and it kind of just like had those kind of vibes to me. I just didn't know what was going on, and well, yeah, just didn't enjoy it. So I'm not going to continue with this series. And then on that same Decker note, I have 8033 here. I don't remember if I got rid of 8030 in my last unhaul or where it is, so maybe I did. I couldn't find it. If I didn't and I find it after this, I'll get rid of it too. These are like back in 80, 30, and then 33. In Jesus's time, we follow a woman who's part of a nomadic tribe, and it sounds very interesting. She meets Jesus, and you know, he goes counterculture to everything that she knew, but I feel like we spend way too much time with this woman in her tribal world, and I wanted to see more of like Jesus and how he was working, and I didn't really get that. That's just not a big part of the book. I mean, like there are themes of that, but yeah, this series just kind of was underwhelming since I heard a lot of good things about it. And I think because I do live in a pretty conservative Christian area, maybe there will be more people interested in this that will find it at the thrift store and enjoy it. Or maybe on my little free library. We'll see. Okay, this one's been on my shelf for a long time, and it's like super highlighted and doggy-eared, and this book impacted me so much years ago when I read it the first time. And this is one of those cases where back when I shared my Christian nonfiction recommendations, I mentioned like I find it hard to recommend Christian nonfiction books because sometimes you read a book by an author who seems to be living their life right, and then they just kind of like go way off the rails and seem to stop following the Bible. And this is kind of one of those cases. So this is 7 by Jen Hatmaker. So this is, I think it's 7 months where she focuses on 7 things and kind of like reducing those things in her life. So there's clothes, shopping, waste, stress, media, possessions, and food. She tries to like focus more on God, and like instead of shopping, you know, trying to think about where her money is going and where she wants it to go. And this had a huge impact on me back in the day. And I still think, well, I haven't read this now for at least 10 years. Okay, well, this was written in 2012, so obviously not at least 10 years, but pretty much since it came out. Yeah, so I don't know if it's still like exactly lines up with the Bible. I feel like I've read the Bible a lot more since then, grown a lot more, but I just feel like a lot of the things I know about her life now and what she's preaching just go against what I read in the Bible. And that being said, I don't follow her online. It's just like the things that I've heard. So yeah, I just feel like this is maybe one I don't want to have on my shelves anymore. Then this one is one I tried to read, or I did read last month. This is Only the River Runs Free. I talked about it a bit in my October wrap up, as well as my reading vlog. This is like about the land wars and the English versus the Irish back in the 1840s, and the Protestants versus the Catholics. And honestly, I just felt very, 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 very confused reading this book. Like, I didn't know, I mean, obviously the bad guy was obvious, but I just like, I don't know, there was like a lot of political stuff I didn't understand, and the characters, it felt like there was too many characters, and yeah, just not one I want to recommend to people, so I just don't want to have it on my shelf. This was one of my most disappointing reads of last month. This is Heart of Thorns. This had such a great opening. I think the first sentence is, in a castle carved of stone, a girl plotted murder. And it's this girl's wedding night, or the eve of her wedding night, and she's plotting murder. It's actually her own. And it's such an interesting like jump in, but then things get like really twisted and dark, and even the ending, there's like betrayal and backstabbing, and not like in a good, interesting way, just in a like horrible way. And I just really, really did not like this book. I skimmed the end. Yeah, and it was a big disappointment from such an intriguing start. Okay, and then my very last one. This is one that I have had on my shelf. This is probably one of my oldest books. I bought it before I was even married, so I've had it for at least 15 years. This is just a bind-up of the Chronicles of Narnia. I love Narnia. The only reason I'm getting rid of this is because I found at the thrift store like a box set. I don't know if you can see it on there. It's by my plant over there. A box set of the books, and that's so much easier to read than like this hefty beast that is, oh, it's under 800 pages. Are you serious? Well, these are some heavy pages because this feels like it's more than 800 pages. So there you have it. That is my unhaul. I think I'm slowing down in my book buying. Like, when the library shut down and I was introduced to Book Outlet, and those were kind of both like at the same time, I kind of went crazy and bought a ton of books / got a ton of books for free. But I think I'm going to try to focus mostly on using my library, and still getting a few free books from Book Outlet because why not? But I feel like if I can read the books from the library and if I really enjoy it, then I'll try to buy it. I'm going to try to take Jared's strategy here from what he talked about when we did that book tag together a while ago. I'm going to prioritize borrowing from the library, and then if I really enjoy it, buy it. That being said, I still have a ton of books that I own that I haven't read, so I'm going to continue like with my TBRs, the same as I have been with some books that I own and some books from the library. But then eventually, hopefully I can like get through all the books that I own instead of always having a backlog. So yeah, I would love to know if there's any books on my getting rid of stack that you are yelling at your screen thinking I shouldn't get rid of. Or another thing is, like, what's the last book you got rid of? And where do you dispose of your books? Jared built me the little free library, has 2 shelves, but like there's no way I can fit even all these books in there. Also, if a book is really terrible, like let's say Heart of Thorns, one that like I was really disappointed in, I don't really want to put that in my little free library because I don't want people to think like, oh, those are books that I recommend that I want people to read. It's just a book I want to get rid of. So that's my struggle with the little free library, is which books do I put in there? I want to keep the books that I really like. Oh, guys, the struggles with books. Anyway, I'm going to go do not what my shirt says now, because I'm going to actually go read and not be here. Thanks again for watching, guys.